I still replay that moment in my head more often than I'd like to admit. Not the big fight that came later, not the court hearings, not even the day my marriage officially ended. No, it's that tiny, almost forgettable moment in my kitchen. Yellow light overhead, the hum of the refrigerator in the background, my son's math worksheet spread out on the counter. That haunts me the most. Because that was the moment my life quietly split in two, before the milk, and after the milk. It had been a completely normal Tuesday evening. The kind that blurs into every other weekday, when you're an adult running on routine and caffeine. I came home a little after 6. My shoulders ached from sitting in traffic, and my head buzzed with unfinished emails and a supervisor who thought quick question meant a 40-minute conversation. I dropped my keys into the ceramic bowl by the door, the one my wife, Laura, bought at a craft fair years ago, and called out, "I'm home." "Kitchen," she shouted back. Ryan was already sitting at the counter, his small legs swinging back and forth from the tall stool, sneakers tapping lightly against the cabinet doors. He had his tongue poking out the side of his mouth the way he always did when he was concentrating. Math homework. I loosened my tie, kissed the top of his head, and smelled the faint strawberry scent of the shampoo he insisted on using, even though it was for girls. "How's it going, champ?" He shrugged without looking up. "Fractions are stupid." I chuckled. "They get worse, trust me." Laura stood at the stove stirring something in a pot. Pasta from the smell of it, garlic butter, something warm and familiar. She gave me a quick smile over her shoulder. "Long day?" she asked. "When is it not?" I said, grabbing a glass from the cabinet. It was such an ordinary exchange, the kind couples have 1,000 times without thinking. No tension, no raised voices, no dramatic music playing in the background to warn me that danger was standing right there, in my own kitchen. Just life. I opened the fridge, letting the cool air wash over my face. I remembered noticing we were almost out of milk. I grabbed the carton anyway. Ryan's pencil stopped moving. I didn't notice. I tilted the carton over the glass and watched the milk swirl, white and smooth, filling it almost to the top. I was thirsty in that way you get after talking all day. Dry throat, tired body, wanting something cold and simple. I lifted the glass toward my mouth. That's when Ryan spoke. "Dad, don't drink that one." His voice wasn't loud. It wasn't panicked either. It was quiet, careful, the way you talk when you're not sure if you're allowed to say something. I lowered the glass slightly and looked at him. He wasn't smiling. I gave a small laugh. "Why? You backwash in it or something?" Usually that would have gotten at least a smirk out of him. Not this time. His eyes stayed locked on the glass in my hand. Not my face, not my expression. Just the milk. "Just don't," he said again, softer now. Something in my chest gave a tiny, almost unnoticeable squeeze. The kind of instinct that tries to tap you on the shoulder before your brain tells it to calm down. I ignored it. "Buddy, it's milk," I said, taking a sip. Cold, normal, exactly what I expected. I swallowed and ruffled his hair. "See, still alive." I even winked. God, I wish I could go back and stop myself from doing that. Ryan didn't laugh. He just watched me. Not like a kid watching his dad be silly. Like someone waiting for something to happen. Laura turned from the stove then, wiping her hands on a dish towel. "What are you two whispering about?" she asked lightly. "Your son thinks the milk is poisoned," I joked. She froze. It was quick. So quick that if I had blinked I might have missed it. Her hand tightened around the towel just slightly. Then she smiled. "Well, don't tell him about the vegetables," she said. "He'll never eat again." I laughed. Ryan didn't. He went back to his homework, but his leg was bouncing now, faster than before. His pencil pressed so hard against the paper it almost tore through. I drank the rest of the milk and set the glass in the sink. If there had been a warning siren in that moment, I might have heard it. If there had been smoke or shouting, or anything obvious, I would have paid attention. But danger doesn't always arrive loud. Sometimes it stands in your kitchen, disguised as a normal evening, while your child tries to save you in the only small way he knows how. That night after dinner, Ryan followed me around more than usual. He sat on the couch right next to me instead of on the floor with his toys. He kept glancing up at my face like he was checking for something. "You okay, Dad?" he asked at least 3 times. "Yeah," I said, amused. "Why wouldn't I be?" He just shrugged. Later, when I tucked him into bed, he held onto my wrist a little longer than normal. "You'll wake me up if you feel sick, right?" he asked. I smiled, brushing his hair back. "I'm not gonna feel sick, bud. It was just milk." He nodded slowly, but his eyes didn't look convinced. I turned off his light and closed the door halfway, like always. I didn't know he stayed awake most of the night. I didn't know he got up twice and stood outside my bedroom door, listening for movement. I didn't know that in his small mind, he had just watched his father do something that might kill him. All I knew was that I slept through the night, and when I woke up the next morning, I thought it had just been another normal evening in a normal life. I had no idea my son had tried to save me, and I had laughed. At the time all of this happened, I was 38 years old enough to think I understood people, old enough to believe I could tell when something was wrong inside my own home, old enough to be completely, dangerously wrong. My wife Laura was 35. We'd been married for 9 years, together for almost 12. Long enough that our lives were woven together in a way that didn't feel separate anymore. Same bank account, same Wi-Fi password, same grocery list app on both our phones. And our son Ryan, he was 8. 8 years old. 3rd grade, missing 2 front teeth. Still slept with a dinosaur nightlight he swore he didn't need anymore but never let us remove. If you had asked me back then to describe my family, I would have said we were doing okay. Not perfect. Not the kind of couple who still held hands in the grocery store. But we weren't screaming at each other either. We paid bills on time. We showed up to parent-teacher meetings. We took one family vacation a year, even if it was just a cheap beach rental a few hours away. From the outside, we looked steady. Inside, things were quieter than they should have been. Laura worked from home as a freelance graphic designer. She had turned our small guest bedroom into an office. White desk, big monitor, headphones always on. She liked the door closed when she worked. Said she needed focus. I respected that. What I didn't realize was how often that door stayed closed even after work hours. She used to sit on the couch with me at night while we watched TV. Over the years, that slowly turned into her staying in the office, just finishing one thing, until it was time for bed. I told myself that was adulthood. Responsibilities, deadlines. I didn't tell myself it could be distance. Ryan adored her. Kids don't notice emotional gaps the way adults do. They notice presence, and Laura was physically there. School lunches packed. Permission slips signed. Doctor appointments remembered. She was a good mother in all the visible ways, but sometimes I'd catch her watching Ryan with a strange expression. Not warmth. Not annoyance either. More like evaluation, like she was trying to measure something invisible. Ryan, on the other hand, was pure heart. At 8 years old, he still believed most problems could be solved with honesty and hugs. He'd leave little sticky notes in my work bag that said things like, "Good luck at your job," with a badly drawn thumbs up. He talked a lot. About school, about video games, about which dinosaur would win in a fight against a shark. But about 6 months before the milk night, I noticed he had started doing something new. He asked questions that didn't sound like kid questions. "Dad, would you ever go away for a long time?" Dad, if someone lies to protect you, is that still bad? Dad, how do judges know who's telling the truth? I remember laughing those off too. Where are you hearing this stuff, buddy? You watching lawyer shows now? He'd just shrug and say, just wondering. Laura would usually go quiet during those conversations. I thought she was just tired. We had routines that made everything feel safe. Every morning I left for work at 8:15. Laura walked Ryan to the bus stop at 30. She'd wave until the bus turned the corner. I saw it once when I came back for my forgotten phone. She looked like a perfect suburban mom. In the evenings, we ate dinner together at the small wooden table in our kitchen. Ryan always sat in the same chair, Laura across from him, me at the head. Looking back, I realized something else. Laura rarely ate much. She'd push food around her plate, say she wasn't that hungry, drink a lot of water, watch Ryan and me more than she talked. I assumed stress, body image stuff, normal adult worries. I never imagined calculation. At night, after Ryan went to bed at 8:30, Laura and I would sit in the living room, the TV on, our phones in our hands. Sometimes our legs touched. Sometimes they didn't. We stopped asking each other, "How was your day?" In any meaningful way. We shared space, not thoughts. Still, there was no big red flag. No affair lipstick. No screaming matches. No slammed doors. Just a slow emotional drifting that felt so gradual it almost felt normal. That's the dangerous kind. Because when disaster grows quietly, you don't prepare for it. You defend it. You say things like, "Marriage just changes over time. We're just busy." Every couple goes through phases. I said all those things, and through it all Ryan watched us. Kids are experts at reading emotional weather, even when you think the skies look clear. Sometimes I'd catch him looking between us at dinner, like he was trying to solve a puzzle. Once he asked, "Why don't you and Mom laugh together like Emma's parents do?" Laura answered quickly, "Because we're old and boring." Ryan didn't laugh. He just nodded slowly like he was filing that answer away. The truth is, by the time he warned me about the milk, my son had already been living in a house that didn't feel safe to him, not because of yelling, not because of violence, but because he knew something I didn't. That love in our house had started being replaced by something else, something quieter, something colder. And an 8-year-old boy was trying, in the only ways he could understand, to hold his family together, while one adult was slowly planning how to tear it apart. The first time I realized something was truly wrong, I still tried to explain it away. That's the strange thing about denial. It doesn't feel like lying to yourself. It feels like being reasonable. It happened the night after the milk. I woke up at 2:17 a.m., not from a noise, not from a nightmare, just awake. For a moment, I didn't know why my heart was beating a little faster than normal. The room was dark except for the faint blue glow of the digital clock on my nightstand. Laura was asleep beside me, turned away, breathing slow and even. Then I heard it. A soft creak in the hallway. The kind old houses make when the temperature shifts at night, or when someone very small is trying to walk quietly. I sat up. "Ryan?" I whispered. No answer. I got out of bed and opened the bedroom door. The hallway nightlight cast a dim yellow path across the floor. And there he was, standing right outside our door, barefoot, pajamas slightly twisted, hair messy from sleep. He looked frozen. "Buddy?" I said softly. "What are you doing up?" He flinched like I'd startled him. Even though he was the one standing outside my room at 2 in the morning, I was just... He looked past me into the bedroom, then back at my face. "Checking." "Checking what?" He hesitated. That hesitation, that pause where a child decides how much truth is safe, should have hit me harder than it did. "Checking if you were okay," he said finally. I smiled, still groggy. "I'm okay, champ. Just sleeping." He searched my face like he didn't fully believe me. "You don't feel sick?" "No." I chuckled. Why would I feel sick? He shrugged, but it wasn't a careless shrug. It was the kind you give when you don't want to say the real reason. Bad dream? I asked. He nodded too quickly. I knelt down and pulled him into a hug. His little body felt tense, not floppy and half asleep like usual when he woke up from a nightmare. You're safe, I said. Go back to bed. He hugged me tighter than normal, tight enough that I felt his heartbeat racing against my chest. Then he whispered something so quietly I almost didn't catch it. Okay, good. Good. Not I love you. Not good night. Good. Like he had just confirmed something. I walked him back to his room, tucked him in again, and stood there for a second watching him. His eyes stayed open long after I turned off the light. I told myself it was just a kid being clingy after a bad dream. I told myself a lot of things. The next morning at breakfast, he was unusually quiet. Ryan was never quiet. Mornings were usually filled with questions about whether sharks could live in swimming pools or if astronauts could bring pizza to space. That day he just stirred his cereal and kept glancing at me. Laura noticed. You're going to be late for school if you keep staring at your dad like he's on TV, she said lightly. Ryan looked down fast. I laughed. What's up, buddy? Nothing, he muttered. Laura's eyes flicked to me, then to him, then back to her coffee. Something passed across her face. Something like tension. Again, I ignored it. That afternoon, things got stranger. I came home early from work because a meeting got canceled. I didn't tell Laura I'd be home. Figured I'd surprise them. When I walked in, the house was quiet. Too quiet. Usually Ryan would come running when he heard the door. Hello? I called out. I heard whispering from the kitchen. I stepped closer. Ryan's voice, hushed, urgent. But what if he... Laura cut him off sharply. We talked about this. Her tone wasn't angry. It was controlled. I walked into the kitchen and they both jumped. Actually jumped. Like I'd caught them doing something wrong. Hey, I said slowly. What's going on? Nothing, Ryan said too fast. Laura forced a smile, just reminding him to finish his homework before screen time. Ryan was still staring at me like he was trying to read something on my face. Everything okay? I asked. Laura answered before he could. Of course. But her hand was gripping the edge of the counter so tightly her knuckles were pale. That night, Ryan did something that made my stomach twist, even if I didn't understand why yet. During dinner, Laura served us pasta and salad. Normal, routine. Ryan watched her plate my food. Not casually. Intensely. When she set my plate in front of me, he leaned forward slightly. You don't have to eat if you're not hungry, Dad, he said quickly. Laura's fork froze halfway to her mouth. I laughed. I'm starving, buddy. He opened his mouth like he wanted to say more. Then he looked at Laura. She gave him a look. Not harsh, not obvious, but it landed. He went quiet. I ate. Every bite he watched, like he was counting. Later that night, after Laura went to shower, Ryan came into the living room where I was watching TV. He climbed onto the couch beside me and curled into my side, which he hadn't done in months. Dad? Yeah. If someone was doing something bad, but they said it was for a good reason. Is it still bad? I muted the TV. That depends, I said carefully. What kind of bad? He picked at the seam of the couch cushion. Like if they said it was to keep everyone safe. My chest tightened. Why are you asking that? He shook his head. Just wondering. I studied his face. There was fear there, but also guilt, like he felt involved in something he didn't understand. Ryan, I said gently, you can tell me anything. You know that, right? His eyes filled with tears instantly. He almost spoke. Almost. Then we heard the bathroom door open down the hall. His whole body stiffened. I'm tired, he said quickly, sliding off the couch. Good night. He hurried to his room before I could stop him. Laura walked in a second later, towel wrapped around her hair. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Yeah," I said slowly. "He's just being weird lately." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Kids go through phases," she said. That's what I thought too. I didn't realize my 8-year-old son wasn't going through a phase. He was living in quiet fear, and he was trying in every small, careful way he could to make sure I stayed alive long enough to figure it out. After that night in the hallway, I started noticing things I wish I had noticed months earlier. It wasn't one big red flag. It was 100 tiny ones. And the worst part? Every single one had an innocent explanation. At least, that's what I kept telling myself. Laura started watching me eat. Not casually. Not lovingly. Observing. Every meal became a quiet performance. If I reached for water, her eyes flicked to the glass. If I didn't finish my plate, she'd ask softly, "You don't like it?" If I did finish, she'd relax. Just slightly. At first I thought maybe she was worried about my health. I'd gained a little weight that year. Work stress. Fast food lunches. But this didn't feel like concern. It felt like monitoring. One night I got up to grab a second helping of pasta. Ryan dropped his fork. The sound clattered way louder than it should have. "Dad," he said quickly, "you don't need more." Laura's voice came right after, smooth but firm. "Let him eat, Ryan." Their eyes met for half a second. It wasn't a normal parent-child look. It was communication. Silent, tense, like they were both holding a secret I wasn't part of. Ryan became my shadow. Kids go through clingy phases, sure. But this was different. If I stood up, he stood up. If I went outside to check the mail, he followed. If I said I was going to the garage, he suddenly needed something from there too. One Saturday, I told him I was running to the store alone. He panicked. Actual panic. "I'll come," he said, already putting his shoes on. "It's just 10 minutes, I laughed. "I want to come," he insisted, voice shaking. Laura appeared in the hallway. "Ryan, let Dad go alone. You're being dramatic." He froze when she said that. Then he looked at me, eyes wide, like he was begging without words. I took him with me. I told myself it was cute. It wasn't cute. It was fear. The phone calls. Laura started taking more calls in her office. Door closed. Voice low. If I walked past, the conversation would stop. One night I gently knocked and opened the door without waiting. She jumped so hard she nearly dropped her phone. "Who was that?" I asked. "Client," she said too fast. "It's 10:30 p.m. They're in a different time zone. She smiled. I nodded. But my stomach had started doing that slow, cold tightening that only happens when your instincts are trying to wake you up. The drawer. About a week later, I went looking for a screwdriver in the kitchen junk drawer. Instead, I found a small white pharmacy bag, folded tightly, my name printed on the label. My heart skipped. I opened it. Inside was a prescription bottle. Not mine, not Laura's either. The label had been peeled off, but I could still see the type of medication through the plastic. Sleeping pills. Strong ones. My mouth went dry. Laura walked into the kitchen behind me. "What's that?" she asked. I held it up. "Why is this in the junk drawer?" Her reaction came half a second too late. "Oh, those? The doctor gave me those months ago when I couldn't sleep. You never told me." "I didn't take them," she said quickly. "They made me groggy. I forgot they were there." Ryan was standing in the hallway, watching, not surprised. Scared, I nodded slowly. Put the bottle back. Told myself couples don't share every little medical detail. Told myself I was overthinking. But that night, I didn't drink the glass of water she brought me in bed. I waited until she was asleep, then poured it down the sink. Ryan tried again. 2 nights later, Ryan came into my room again. Same time, around 2 a.m., but this time he was crying. Not loud. Silent tears running down his face. "Dad," he whispered, climbing into bed beside me. "You can't drink stuff she gives you." My heart stopped. "What?" I whispered back. His breath was shaking. "You can't," he repeated. "Please." "Why would you say that?" He looked toward the bedroom door, then back at me. "She said it helps you sleep." Cold spread through my chest. "Who said?" He didn't answer. He didn't have to. Laura stirred beside us. Ryan instantly pretended to be asleep. I lay there in the dark, eyes open, heart pounding so loud I thought it might wake her. That was the first moment. I felt fear in my own house. Not suspicion. Not confusion. Fear. The shift. After that night, something changed inside me. I stopped being passive. I started watching back. I noticed Laura always poured my drinks. I noticed Ryan never let me finish them without staring. I noticed Laura's smile never reached her eyes when she looked at me anymore. And I noticed something else. Ryan wasn't just scared. He was guilty. Like he thought he had already done something wrong. Like he believed he had helped her. Before realizing what was really happening, that realization hit me harder than anything else. Because whatever was going on, my 8-year-old son was trapped in it. And he was trying to protect me from something he didn't fully understand, while living with the person I trusted most in the world. And deep down, I think Laura knew I was starting to wake up. Because that's when she stopped being patient and started being careful. The night I found the proof I wasn't being brave. I was being desperate. Fear does that. It slowly pushes you from "I'm probably overthinking" to "I need to know the truth," even if it destroys me. Laura had gone to bed early that night. Said she had a headache. Ryan had been unusually quiet all evening, barely touching his food, watching me like he was counting my breaths. I pretended everything was normal. I kissed Laura goodnight. I tucked Ryan into bed. Then I waited. At 12:43 a.m. I got up. Every step down the hallway felt louder than it should have. My heart was pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. I wasn't even sure what I was looking for. Just something real. Something that would either prove I was crazy or prove I wasn't. Laura's office door was closed. It was never locked. That night it was. My hands went cold. I stood there staring at the handle like it had personally betrayed me. Locked. Inside my own house. I went to the kitchen and grabbed a butter knife. My hands were shaking so badly it took 3 tries to slide the latch open. The click sounded like a gunshot in the quiet house. I froze. Waited. No movement from the bedroom. I slipped inside and shut the door behind me. The room smelled like her perfume and printer ink. Her desk was neat, too neat. I opened drawers slowly, carefully putting everything back exactly how it was. Receipts, old sketchbooks, cables. Nothing. I almost gave up. Then I saw it. A small black lockbox under the desk. The kind people use for passports or secrets. My stomach dropped. I pulled it out. It was locked with a 3-digit code. I tried Ryan's birthday. Click. It opened. That was the moment my denial died. Inside were 3 things. A small digital voice recorder, a stack of printed emails, and a life insurance policy. My name on it. $750,000. Recently updated. Beneficiary Laura Mitchell. My ears started ringing. I picked up the emails first. Printed. Highlighted. They were between Laura and someone saved as M. I didn't recognize the email address, but I recognized the tone. Calculated, careful. One line was highlighted in yellow. It has to look natural. Doctors won't. Question heart complications. If there's a history of stress and poor sleep. Another? Small doses over time. It won't raise suspicion. My vision blurred. My hands were shaking so badly the paper crinkled. I grabbed the recorder next. There were multiple audio files. I put in my earbuds and pressed play on the most recent one. Laura's voice filled my ears. Calm, cold. I started giving it to him last month. Just a little. He gets drowsy faster now. Ryan almost ruined it tonight, though. He keeps hovering. My knees nearly gave out. Another voice responded. A man's voice. Low, detached. You need to control the kid, or we stop. Laura sighed. I am controlling him. He thinks it's medicine to help Daddy sleep. The room felt like it was spinning. Ryan, my 8-year-old. She had used him. Another clip. I can't do this forever, she said. We just need a few more weeks. The man replied, then you're free. We both are. Free. My marriage, my life, reduced to an obstacle. I ripped the earbuds out like they were burning me. My chest hurt. I couldn't breathe right. But the worst part wasn't the money. It wasn't the betrayal. It was the picture forming in my mind of my son, standing beside her in the kitchen, believing he was helping his dad sleep better, while she slowly poisoned me. That's why he watched me eat. That's why he panicked when I drank things. That's why he asked about lies that protect people. He had figured it out before I did, and he had been trying to save me from his own mother. I don't remember putting everything back. I don't remember leaving the office. I just remember sitting on the couch in the dark until sunrise, listening to the house breathe, listening to the woman I loved sleep peacefully down the hall, while my entire world lay in pieces at my feet. By morning, I wasn't confused anymore. I wasn't in denial. I wasn't even heartbroken yet. I was something else. Awake, and I knew one thing with absolute certainty. Before I confronted her, I had to protect Ryan, because whatever Laura had become, my son was still just a child caught in the middle of something evil, and he was running out of time. I didn't confront Laura right away. I waited one more day, not because I was scared of her, because I was scared of what would happen to Ryan when everything exploded. That whole day, I played normal. I went to work. I texted Laura about picking up milk on the way home. I even kissed her on the cheek when I walked in. She smiled, like she hadn't been planning my death with another man. Ryan watched us from the couch. His eyes weren't confused anymore. They were tired, like a kid who'd been carrying a secret too heavy for too long. That night, after Ryan went to bed, I told Laura we needed to talk. She froze for just a second, then nodded. We sat at the kitchen table. Same table where we'd eaten thousands of meals. Same table where my son had drawn crayon pictures for us. I placed the lockbox on the table between us. Her face drained of color instantly. Where did you get that? She whispered. Your office, I said calmly. She didn't deny it. Didn't pretend she didn't know what was inside. She just stared at it like it was a bomb. Play it, I said. She didn't move. I heard everything. Silence filled the room so thick it felt hard to breathe. Finally she spoke. I can explain. I let out a broken laugh. I would love to hear this explanation. Tears filled her eyes, but they didn't fall. You weren't supposed to find out like this. Like what? My voice cracked. Before or after I died? She flinched. I wasn't trying to hurt you. I slammed my hand on the table. You were poisoning me. Her composure shattered. I was trying to leave, she shouted. I couldn't just walk away. Divorce, that's how people leave, Laura. You would have fought me for Ryan. Because I'm his father. And I'm his mother, she cried. I was trying to build a future where he didn't grow up in a house full of tension and resentment. I stared at her, stunned. You think murdering his dad was better? she broke then, tears spilling. I didn't think it would go that far. I thought I'd stop. I just needed time. Em said. Em? I snapped. Who is Em? She covered her face. My coworker from a project last year. The word hung in the air unspoken. Affair. I felt like I'd been punched in the chest. So this was for him? It was for me, she whispered. I felt trapped. I felt invisible. You stopped seeing me years ago. That hurt, because part of it was true. But pain doesn't justify evil. Ryan knew, I said quietly. Her eyes snapped up. What? He knew something was wrong. You made him part of this. I never told him, she cried. I just said it was medicine to help you sleep. He's 8, Laura. He thought he was helping you kill me. She collapsed into sobs. I never meant for him to understand. But he did, I said, my voice breaking. And he's been trying to save me from you. That sentence destroyed whatever was left of her denial. She slid out of the chair and onto the floor, crying in a way I had never seen before. Not manipulative, not controlled. Broken. I didn't know how to stop, she whispered. Every step I took made it worse. I looked at the woman I had loved for over a decade, and I realized something horrifying. She hadn't become a monster overnight. She had drifted there slowly, one selfish decision at a time. I recorded everything, I said quietly. I copied the emails. Her head jerked up. I'm going to the police tomorrow. She nodded. Didn't argue. Didn't beg. Just nodded like she knew this was always where the road ended. Then she asked the question that shattered me. Can I say goodbye to Ryan in the morning? I couldn't answer. Because I didn't know if the woman sitting on my kitchen floor was still his mother, or just the person who almost made him an orphan. I walked past her, down the hallway, into my son's room. He was awake, sitting up in bed, like he'd been listening to everything. Is it over? He whispered. I knelt and pulled him into my arms. Yes, I said, holding him tighter than I ever had in my life. It's over. You're safe now. He started crying into my shoulder. I tried, Dad. I tried to stop her. I broke, right there beside his bed, because no child should ever have to say those words, and no father should ever have to hear them. That night my marriage ended, but something else happened too. My son stopped carrying the weight alone, and I finally understood. The real hero in our house had been 8 years old the whole time.